Well, good evening and welcome back to Dunseverick. I was here, I'm not sure what video it was ago, but I'll put a link up top. Kind of on the other side of where I was shooting last time, exploring the area sort of behind me here. But actually, I literally had just arrived and the cloudage above me was pretty insane. So, you know, needs must and all that. Just stopped and fired off a couple of images using the wide angle, which actually is what I'm using to film this. So I don't do a lot of wide stuff. The widest I have obviously is the 10-24, which is what I'm recording this on, but most of my images I make on the 18-135. I have been tempted by the 16-80, but shh, don't tell my bank manager. Simply because I don't do a lot of ultra wide stuff, so that normally just stays on the video camera. But yeah, the clouds were fantastic, and of course, you know, great for black and white as well. So I'll throw some of those up after this little intro section. So again, as always, no real plan. There is some sort of high level cloud obscuring the sun or diffusing the sun right now. There are some gaps on the horizon, so that does give me a little bit of an opportunity to go and find a bit of a composition. Probably again going to be pointing away from the sun, at least for the foreseeable. Maybe as the sun gets closer to the horizon we might do something a bit more traditional, but yeah, we'll just go for a bit of a bimble and seize what we can find. Struggling tonight. I think I mentioned in one of my previous videos, sometimes your eye just catches something and you think to yourself, oh yeah, and you start to kind of work it, and it just, nah. Maybe you're trying to be a little bit too sort of go for little intimate sort of abstract scenes when actually there's nothing there to be had, so nah. And then I kind of look at the wider scene and yeah, I think it's going to be one of those nights where we kind of struggle a little bit, but I think it's good every so often to have a night like tonight where things are a bit of a struggle, because it just reminds you that this isn't supposed to be easy. I mean, one plus was I potentially have an image over to my left here, you're right, as the sun gets closer to the horizon potentially, but anyway, we shall wander on and seize what we can seize. So, may have found something here. One of the things I was finding, and this is something that I think it's worthwhile mentioning. Quite often when we're shooting a vista, do we pay attention to the connection between the foreground and the background, or the ground and the sky? Quite often not, and so what you end up with is almost two separate images, and that's what I was definitely finding here. This place is an absolute treasure trove of foreground textures and tones and patterns and lines, but it was all leading into kind of a mid-ground of nothingness really. And then of course up above me, I mean, those clouds. So we're kind of looking for something that maybe connects the foreground and the mid-ground, and I think I've kind of found it here. So I've set myself up in a portrait orientation. And there's a little bit of a curve. Now, the stones that are in here aren't exactly the most picturesque stones, but what drew my eye was kind of the little sort of bits of grass, a little curve, and it kind of curves out and then back in on itself. And then up in the sky we have a couple of curves as well, so maybe there's a little bit of a a connection there. Now I'm shooting with black and white's film simulation, with the idea being that it probably will be a black and white when I finish. Got a polarizer on, but I'm not doing any real polarization there, so maybe 5 out of 10 for effort. Anyway, I'll maybe see if I can fine-tune this, see what I can come up with, and then we'll maybe mosey on and see what else there is. So I actually came down to photograph this sort of outcrop of rock and nice lighting leading across to Rathlin Island as that sun is getting sort of reasonably low in the sky. It's probably another sort of 40 minutes or so, half an hour to sunset. But as usual, always look on the lookout for little intimate scenes, and that's exactly what I've found here. Now, I've actually shot the scene already because the sun is kind of now it's not illuminating the little bit of dried out seaweed, but I just loved how it was curved through the sort of, not sure what that grass is called, but obviously some sort of seagrass or something, and there was just little bits of light illuminating both the dried out seaweed and also the grass. Completely forgot about the wider scene. Now that sun should stay visible, at least illuminating here, for at least another sort of 20 minutes or so before it might dip down behind a set of rocks that are just behind you there. So, but it is always the little intimate scenes. On the technical side of things, well, one thing, as you know already, my ball head exploded. Sounds more painful than it was. So I've had to send the plate off to Really Right Stuff, which means I'm shooting on just a regular, and setting up a scene like this, you forget just how versatile a ball head is until you're having to do something like this, and you're literally having to kind of maneuver legs and all these twisty things. So yeah. On the other technical side of things, I actually focus stacked. I'm right out at about, looks like about 110 mil. So I kind of focus stacked just through the image, just to make sure, because it's that type of image. You're not straight down. There is a little bit of kind of focus plane sort of pulling away from you. So I kind of focus stacked 4 images throughout the frame. And yeah, that light has now moved off that little bit of seaweed, and I'm sure by tomorrow the tide will have taken that away. So another one of those little moments that here for a moment and then gone. Privileged to capture it. Right. Let's see whether we can maybe set up one final image of the night. So you may see behind me all the clouds have pretty much disappeared, so I think the wider shot may be somewhat lacking if we decide to go for it. Now that sun is fast approaching the horizon. It's behind a small bank of clouds now, but it will come back out again. So I'm actually making my way back over to where I first started and see whether maybe we can shoot something a bit more traditional. Now we do have some clouds out on the horizon. Oh, hang on, we're gonna... Yeah, so we do have some clouds out on the horizon that way, which is probably where I'll end up shooting towards maybe. Looks like there's some beautiful light over in Isla as well. So we'll take a wander back to where we started and see whether there's a final image to be had, but lack of clouds in the sky. Ooh, try not to fall over. Lack of clouds in the sky make me think that whatever we do capture will be average at best. So it's a bit like at the start, you know, the light is glorious, but trying to get that connection between this literally stunning foreground, it's just beautiful, and the background. Now there is some lovely light on Isla, as I said, and there is that band of cloud, but not too sure. There might be a little scene, try not to knock my other camera over the edge. There might be a little scene down here actually, just a little, as the waves are kind of coming in and there's a little bit of a glistening off the rocks, so maybe I'll think about doing something down there. But yeah, I could just go ahead and, you know, make an image here, but I thought that gull was coming for me there, but I just don't think it would hold any lasting appeal for me. So I'm learning to listen, and I think I talked about this in my newsletter, in a blog post, maybe in both, because otherwise I end up going home with a bunch of images that I have no emotional connection with, and they're never going to last the test of time. So I think a very good practice, at least for me, is to know when to say, you know what, but there might be something here, so I'll turn the other camera around and see whether we can maybe get something here. So no, not really, nothing really doing there. I mean, it was nice, just a little simple scene. I just like how the light was catching the edge of one of the stones, but nothing much to write home about. And actually, while you can't really make it out now that I'm looking, there really is a bit of a haziness on the horizon, which is why there's just no real colour in the sky. There's clouds I think might take on a little bit of colour, but you're not really getting anything here in the foreground whatsoever. So just one of those evenings that it's nice just to sit back and watch the sunset. And actually, so long as it comes out okay, I think the little intimate scene that I captured with a little bit of dried seaweed going through the frame will be enough for me actually. So it's just beautiful up here though. There's that sun disappearing down past the horizon now, so beautiful. Right guys, well, once again, I hope you've enjoyed this little bimble out. Apologies if you came here looking for epic. That's not me. I just like being out with a camera. I love just bimbling along, well, at the moment the Causeway Coast here, because of course our travel wings have been well and truly clipped. But for me, just being out with a camera amongst nature, it's just beautiful. So apologies if you're looking for big epic vistas and epic this and master that. Ain't gonna happen. Right, on that note, I think I'm going to watch the last of the sun disappear over the horizon, pack up and bimble back home. Once again, until next time, take care and thanks for watching. Bye bye.